Welcome to the Stronger Than Steel podcast with your host, Austin Davidson and John Keir, talking Steelers all the time. Now, here's Austin and John.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Stronger Than Steel podcast. Today is Season 4, Episode 26, and we are finally getting into regular season football. We are previewing the Steelers versus the champion Patriots. How are you feeling, buddy?
Howdy, Austin. I'm doing just wonderful. And, before we get into the game, of course, we got to talk about the, daily updates with Mr. Big Chest, Antonio Brown. Every time we podcast, it seems like there's something new going on with him. And we got to play catch-up, man. So, let's just go over kind of what's happened with him. Obviously, since he got traded from the Browns, he missed the start of camp due to the frostbite on his feet from the improper footwear in the cryotherapy chamber. And then we've got his helmet issue where he filed 2 grievances just to be able to wear his old helmet that he's had for 10 years. And he lost that. Didn't play in the preseason. And then it really just took off over the past couple days with this altercation with Mike Mayock where he's getting held back by Vontaze Burfict. And then O.J. Simpson calls him out on Twitter and he's like, "What are you doing?" And, man, 2019 is a wild year. O.J. Simpson's talking to Antonio Brown saying, like, "Yo, calm down. Like, what's going on, man?" And Antonio Brown's getting held back by Vontaze Burfict. And, man, what is going on?
Imagine trying to tell yourself that going back to 2015. Imagine trying to repeat what you just said to past you. Well, do you think past you would even believe anything you just said?
Past me would probably go into rehab or something for the drugs that I would eventually end up taking, because clearly I'm on some drugs if I think that is what was going to happen. And yet here we are. And it gets worse because, the Raiders were talking about suspending Antonio Brown, and then Brown apologized today. So then all of a sudden they decided they were going to have him play. And the reason he apologized is because he realized that the guaranteed money that he has can be null and void if he gets suspended, or even if he misses more than 15% of the off-season program, which he did. So he could theoretically have his guarantees voided, which means you could cut him like right away for nothing. And he's now realizing this, hence his vapid apology earlier today. And yet here he gets fined for the whole altercation with Mike Mayock, and he's apparently upset. And now he just released a YouTube video less than an hour ago recording a private conversation he had with John Gruden, where John Gruden was like, "Please just come back and play football," where Gruden sounds like almost just desperate, like, "Man, what is going on? Like, how do I reach this guy?" Which is also, I don't know if it's necessarily wiretapping, but you can't record that conversation legally in California without both sides consenting. So either John Gruden consented to this video being made that used that audio, or the other side, Brown just did it himself and is now opening himself up to legal trouble on top of the problems where he looks like even more of a clown on top of the nonsense he's already pulled in just the last few days alone. How is he even going to make it to week 1? I know they just said that he was going to play today. Is he really going to, my God, what in the world is happening?
This is a story I never could have seen coming going into this offseason. I knew it was going to be bad. I knew it was going to fall apart, but I wasn't even ready to say that he'd be gone. He wouldn't make it to Las Vegas. I am now ready to say he is not going to make it to Las Vegas, because I thought he wasn't even going to make it to week 1 in Oakland. So it's just been a crazy, crazy ride. And of course, now afterward, Antonio Brown is denying it all. I suppose you could believe him. I suppose, but he got fined for it. He said he didn't. The supposed altercation happened, and he got in Mike Mayock's face and called him a cracker, and apparently had to be held back. He's denying every single part of that it was a man-to-man talk, and that he didn't have to be held back, and that he didn't say. He didn't call Mike Mayock. I don't know why it's so hard for me to say today, a cracker, but it's just been a crazy ride. And then you have this, just like 10 minutes ago, he's posting the video of a private phone call. It's just insane. The change that he's had so quickly is insane. It's not normal. I don't know what's what happened. Like, it was Mike Tomlin just the greatest coach of all time just because he kept Antonio Brown in check. Obviously, that's an exaggeration. I'm just joking there. But, like, honestly, Mike Tomlin gained some points because I don't know if Antonio Brown, if something just snapped in him or Mike Tomlin has just been keeping Antonio Brown this contained for this long. And it's based on earlier reports because a report came out today. A fan favorite, Troy Polamalu, someone said, I forget who wrote the article or who said it, but he said he only saw Troy Polamalu mad twice, like really mad twice. And one of them was because Antonio Brown was parading around and just being a prima donna, and Troy Polamalu got pissed off with how he was acting and how he was being, because he was saying to defenders not to touch him and then, like, they were going to get cut or something. And he's like, this is an open practice. I'm going to, all the wide receivers are live dummies. Like, I'm going to hit them because Troy Polamalu wanted to hit him. Troy Polamalu wanted to tackle him because he's just being what he's been. So, honestly, I know I'm going on a tangent here, but just props to Mike Tomlin because I do think that he was just able to contain this for so long. Because that was 2012. Obviously, Troy Polamalu retired in 2013 or following the 2013 season. But so he didn't have that much time with Antonio Brown. But, like, that just speaks volumes. This whole thing has been incredible to watch from afar.
Man, and, like, where's it going to go from here? Like, do you think he even makes it to week 1? I know they just said that he's going to play, but, like, we haven't seen the repercussions from this yet. Like, there's part of me that thinks he actually just doesn't want to play football anymore.
I don't know. In that video he just made, he said he wants to play. This is what he's good at. I don't know. I've been thinking that he's only been about the money because this is why he had to say sorry. Like, I made a mistake because it was for the money. And I don't know. I feel like once he plays, like, he's gonna probably make it through the entire season, I would think, because, like, the Raiders lose so much money on that because they have to give him the $14 million in guarantees. So I don't know. I feel like once he gets to the season, if he gets there, he's gonna make it through this entire season and then get cut.
Honestly, like, it's a mistake to not suspend him and then cut him next week.
Yeah. Yep. It's going to be interesting to see what the Raiders plan to do. They say he's going to play, and I kind of believe them.
Well, yeah, but we still need to see how they react to this. I mean, he might have just committed, like, an actual crime with what he just did.
Yep.
That could be subject to a potential NFL investigation and maybe a suspension.
Yep. Yep. He's not the brightest one in the room. No.
My goodness. I mean, just like, every time I think that not that it's over per se, 'cause it's never over with him, but every time I think that it's time to calm down and relax a little bit, he does something else, and I don't know, man. Like, for like a year now, I've been comparing him to Terrell Owens, and, like, even Terrell Owens at his worst, he had 2 good years in Philadelphia before it came off the rails. I mean, at least Owens played, like, Owens was able to get through at least a full season with every team he was with, and it wasn't even like he boo-hooed his way off the Bills or the Bengals. He just left or retired. I mean, it wasn't like this is unprecedented, and he could end up losing all this money because of his just idiocy. And it's just, I've never, ever even, like, I've never thought about something like this being even possible. And yet here we are.
It's just insane, man. Definitely never saw it coming.
I mean, I saw something, I'll agree. I didn't see something this bad happening this quickly. I expected an ugly divorce whenever it was going to be, but I thought it might happen in a year, in 2 years. I didn't expect it 5 months down the road.
You have a point there, because I did think it was going to collapse eventually. I just thought they'd at least make it to Las Vegas together.
Oh, my goodness. So, as wild and entertaining as that is, Thursday Night Football, as done by the Sunday Night Football crew, the first game of the NFL's 100th season was quite the opposite. It was pretty anticlimactic, and pretty sloppy. Defenses started in this one. The Packers defense holding the Bears to just a field goal as Mitchell Trubisky struggled mightily. And the Packers offense really not being able to muster much against the Bears defense besides one solid touchdown drive in which they caught the Bears with an up-tempo attack. But besides that, the Bears defense was really good too. I know it's just one game. You've taken away much from this other than the Bears maybe being a little worse or the Packers being a little better than what we thought.
I just think the Bears are a little worse right now, and it's not all on Trubisky. The stat that I saw was that the offensive line gave up a pressure rate, for the Bears I'm talking about, of 36.4%. That is higher than any game they had last season. So the offensive line wasn't as good. It was already worse than it had been all of last season. So that's a thought for concern. And obviously Trubisky didn't look good. Trubisky was making a lot of bad throws and a lot of throws to the defense. There should have been another pick. I remember watching. It's surprisingly he only threw one. Only one. But it's just I don't really have other takeaways than that. I need to watch more and hope, because the Bears could bounce back. It's only one game, 1 week, first week. There's a lot to improve from here.
Indeed, and one game does not make or break a season, as we know. So, man, I keep thinking about it. I saw the way Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth were wearing fedoras at the start, kicking it back to 1919 NFL football. They didn't need to play like it was 1919, no.
No, they definitely did not.
But in any case, let's move on. So Steelers-Patriots, week 1. We saw the Steelers open in Foxborough in 2015 as well, a similar situation. Going over the injury report really quickly, not a whole lot going on. Both teams are relatively healthy going into this one. The Steelers only have one guy on the injury report, and that's Sean Davis. He had an ankle injury that he suffered in the Week 3 preseason game, and although he was optimistic at the time he would return, he did not practice at all this week, meaning he's doubtful, so he's highly unlikely to play. And we'll get to his replacement in a moment, but the Patriots have 3 guys who are all questionable after they were all limited in practice all week. Tight end Matt Lacoste, who is going to be important for them because they have Lance Kendricks and Benjamin Watson suspended. He has an ankle injury. Demaryius Thomas has a hamstring injury that he's trying to deal with. He's probably going to play. There's Obi, I forget his last name. It's Melfonu, I believe, something like that. He's a backup defensive back, mostly a special teamer, but he's also questionable with an ankle injury. So looks like I'd have to think that all those Patriots players should probably play, and Davis probably won't, but just one guy out, besides, of course, David Andrews for the Patriots, and I guess we could get into that a little bit. But, the Sean Davis injury means that our AAF guy, Cameron Kelly, is likely going to be getting his first NFL snaps and also his first NFL start at free safety in Gillette Stadium on Sunday.
Yep, welcome to the NFL, Cameron Kelly. You're about to get baptized by fire. I'm hoping for the best for him. It's not the exact ideal situation I would have wanted him to come in on, but, next man up. He is the next man up. He was deemed good enough to make the roster. He's deemed good enough to be the second best safety here. So, all I can do is hope, and I want him to be the best safety ever. Obviously, I want that for all Steelers. I want Sean Davis to do that too, but I'm just hoping for the best for Cameron Kelly. Obviously, I can't say it enough. Being a Fleet fan, seeing Cameron Kelly play for them, be the Defensive Player of the Week for the last AAF week, and then come to the Steelers, make the team, and now being able to make his first start against Tom Brady and the Patriots, that's just insane. And I'm hoping for the best for him. It's going to be, I'm not expecting a great game out of him, but I'm hoping for one.
Well, don't expect him to play full snaps at free safety, too. Expect some versatility and switching. Mike Hilton's been practicing at safety as well, so I wouldn't expect that Kelly's going to get the entire workload at free safety. Expect some guys to be moving around, and Kelly can play in the slot, too, at cornerback, as we know. So expect to see these guys move around. But he will be the primary free safety, it looks like. So Steelers-Patriots last year, the Steelers finally came away with a win, their first win in the Patriots in their last 6 tries. and it brought the all-time series even at 16 games apiece. Just a fun fact. The Steelers won at home, but the last time they beat the Patriots in Foxborough, it wasn't Tom Brady at quarterback. It was Drew Bledsoe in 1997. The Steelers won that game 24-21 in overtime. Then Steelers quarterback Cordell Stewart accounted for 323 of the Steelers' 404 yards that day between passing and rushing. There is one active player in the NFL remaining from that game, and that is, of course, then Patriots kicker Adam Vinatieri.
Man, cool stuff. Cool stuff. I can't believe Cordell Stewart had that many yards in that game.
Yeah, 266 passing and an extra 57 on the ground. He was a true dual threat guy.
Crazy.
You want to roll into the preview now, I guess, right? Do you want to talk offense, defense, or special teams right now?
Let's talk offense.
All right, so I guess the way to kind of just lead into this, look, the Patriots defense, besides Trey Flowers, is pretty much the same stout unit that we saw in Super Bowl 53, shutting down the Rams' high-powered offense. So, I mean, it wasn't easy for the Steelers' offense last year. Yeah, they had 100 and I forget how much it was. It wasn't like 140-something yards from Jalen Samuels on the ground. It was a solid rushing attack, but they only had 17 points put up, and even if Boswell makes that field goal, that's only 20 points against the Patriots defense. This is a very experienced secondary. They've played together a long time, and no Antonio Brown here this time. They will have James Conner back, but it's going to be difficult sledding. So I guess we already know that Bill Belichick's always about taking away your best option. So assuming that is going to be Juju Smith-Schuster, how do you, A, try to get him open for chances, and B, obviously other guys need to step up, but who are they and how are they going to do that?
Well, I think that the answer to the first question is part of the second question, where I think that the other receivers need to get going to be able to open up Juju Smith-Schuster, because otherwise it's not going to happen. But what I'm specifically looking for, and the person I'm looking to just have a pretty good game here, I'm looking for Vance to just attack the seam and stuff, because I feel like Vance has got a pretty good matchup against the Patriots defense here. I feel like they don't have a guy that's really suited to handle Vance McDonald. He's sort of like how Rob Gronkowski has been for the Steelers. The Steelers hadn't had anyone to really deal with him, and it's not exactly like that because Vance isn't on Rob Gronkowski's level, but he's just a mismatch with his speed and stuff that I feel like Vance is going to be the guy that makes people... He's going to have to make the Patriots respect him, because I think he's going to be bursting down the seam a lot and have to take the double teams away from Juju Smith-Schuster to possibly handle. And I'm looking for him to have a good game here out of all the wide receivers and tight ends. What do you think about how do you get Juju Smith-Schuster open, and who's got to step up here?
Well, there's a lot of ways you can try to. I know the Steelers tried doing this last year. A lot of bunch sets, a lot of rub routes, a lot of almost pick plays. You have to be creative with how you get Juju Smith-Schuster open. The Patriots run a lot of pattern matching. They like to bracket Steelers' best receiver. We saw them do that with Antonio Brown a lot. And Smith-Schuster is a good route runner, but he's not quite as crisp and quick as Antonio Brown is. So maybe you have to throw him some quick screens. It's going to have to be creative if you're trying to get the ball in his hands. But we already know that getting the ball to him is going to be difficult, so you can't force it. You really do need other guys to step up. So, you mentioned Vance McDonald. He really is going to be a key. The one issue with him that the Steelers have made it apparent he's not going to play a lot more snaps compared to what he typically plays, which is around 60 to 70% of the snaps. So you're going to reach a limit with him. So you want to see him used especially in the red zone, but where is everyone else going to fit in? Obviously, you're thinking about Moncrief, you're thinking about Samuels, and you're thinking about James Washington in the passing game, and you're thinking about James Conner on the ground. I'm sure James Conner in the Steelers' ground game will be pretty solid in this one. The Patriots have typically allowed the Steelers' ground game to succeed, and that typically hasn't always meant victory, obviously. It did last year, but that was a unique case. Expect some decent running room, but you need a little bit more from other guys. So this year, obviously, the key is James Washington, I would have to think. Washington had a really nice game against the Patriots, probably his best game of the year last season against New England, and it really opened things up for the rest of the offense. You really do need a team performance in this one. It's not going to be one guy stepping up for 9 catches and a touchdown. That's not going to be enough. You're going to need performances from other guys, even if it's just 2 catches for 40 yards where, one is a big play and then the other's a third down conversion. You really do need an all-around team performance. And on the offensive line, the Patriots don't really have any dominant pass rushers, but they love to scheme their blitzes. Luckily, the Steelers have been have had some of the best offensive lines in recent years when it comes to picking up stunts like that. So it's going to be up to them picking that up, and obviously Ben Roethlisberger to not make the critical turnovers and mistakes. Last year, he had 2 interceptions. One of them really wasn't on him, but one of them was. You really can't do that. You got away with it in Pittsburgh last year. You're not going to be able to get away with that this year. So it's ultimately going to take what the Steelers did last year on offense, but you have to play cleaner, and you need probably at least one other score just to have a chance. You're going to need to do what you did last year, but more. So it's not easy. They can do it, but how long? I guess what I'm wondering is we saw them for one really good drive in the preseason. What about that rush factor too? Are they going to be able to shake it off quickly? I guess. Is it reasonable to think they can score 3+ touchdowns? I mean, it's got to be difficult sledding. I'm not expecting a huge offensive game in terms of points, but I mean, I expect the ground game to be there. And really, again, it's just up to other guys to step up. Is 27 points feasible for this offense, or is that just going to be kind of a pipe dream, do you think?
I think that's a pipe dream, personally. I think this is going to be a low-scoring affair, just like the last one. I believe that it's going to be pretty close, like all the way throughout, and I don't think either team is going to top 3 touchdowns in this one. I think the max is going to be 2 for either team. And then there's going to be some field goals, of course, but I feel like this is going to be a low-scoring affair coming from this game, and that's why I feel like the ground game here definitely is going to be important. Last year we saw that huge rushing game from Jalen Samuels where I think it was like 157 scrimmage yards total, and he just had a lot of rushing yards, and he really just messed the Patriots up. I'm really hoping for that to work out again, since James Conner is the better running back, and I'm hoping just to see more from him there. But I just still, at the end of the day, I don't think, especially now that with no Antonio Brown anymore, I just don't feel confident about the 3 touchdowns. But I don't feel confident for 3 touchdowns from the Patriots either. This is just, I feel like the matchups, the defenses are better now. I mean, not definitely for the Steelers from last year. The Patriots is actually probably a little bit worse, just a little bit, because they, like you said, they don't have that pass rusher that you have to be scared of. There's no Trey Flowers. Like I feel like they might have one of the worst pass rushers in the league, because they already weren't that great in like the sack defense last year. They might have one of the worst defense in the league for that. Depends. It's going to depend on how well their coverage is, that if they could get coverage sacks, which they should have pretty solid coverage in this game. But yes, and that's why I think like the Steelers aren't going to top 3 touchdowns. I think that the coverage unit is going to be a big part of it. For the Steelers to top 3 touchdowns, I think they're going to need to have a really solid rushing attack, in my personal opinion.
Well, it's going to take defensive help, too. I mean, it's quite a contrast from what we're used to seeing with these high-flying offenses, but if the Steelers get into a track meet, they're losing. You're not going to be able to put up a lot of passing yards on this experienced and talented secondary that's been playing together for almost 3 full seasons.
Yep, no, that's going to be hard. The defense needs to get some turnovers to help the offense here, try and get good field position and stuff, so that they can. I'll say that as well. If the Steelers are able to win the turnover battle, I know we're mostly talking about offense. I think that the Steelers could put up 3 touchdowns or more there, because I think the offense is going to have more shots, more opportunities if that happens.
Well, then let's transition to defense. Then, obviously, the Steelers had their best defensive performance against Brady that they've ever had last season, and giving up just 10 points, just 3 points after the Patriots, I think, 3rd offensive play of the game, which was, as we remember infamously, was a breakdown in coverage. I mean, besides that, the defense was really fantastic. So, the Patriots, we typically think them, in the past, during Tom Brady's heyday, they were split 5 wide. They were shotgun, throwing the ball, airing it out. They've kind of gone back to the early Tom Brady year formula, and that is strong defense, strong offensive line, good ground game, with some passes sprinkled in here and there by Tom Brady, enough to win the game. And we saw that he really wasn't that good in the playoffs, with the exclusion of the Chargers game, but he did just enough for them to win. So, that being the case, it looks like that's what they are. They're about loading up, running the football, and playing defense. So it's going to be definitely different. Obviously, there's no Rob Gronkowski. What is the number one weapon that you're most worried about if you're Keith Butler right now?
So I have a main one and I have a sleeper. So the main one I think has got to be James White, because they really do enjoy that dink and dunk offense. And James White has been an amazing receiving back. Really, really good. Probably a little underrated for what he is, because he's in a rotation and he's not one of the main rushers, but he's just so good with the ball in his hands, and he can turn short things and short little dink and dunks into long catches. I think he's the guy that I'm mainly worried about. Then my sleeper, in the past 4 games against the Steelers, Demaryius Thomas has put up 414 yards and 4 touchdowns, and 2 of those games were postseason games. So those are also in the playoffs. So that's just even more scary to me. And while Demaryius Thomas is kind of not considered Demaryius Thomas anymore, he's not at the level where he used to be, considered maybe in the top eight wide receivers, someone that was compared to Dez Bryant and Antonio Brown at one point, since they're all from the same draft class and stuff like that. So he's not quite at that level, but if there's a rebirth for him, it's going to be this year. It's going to be with the Patriots if he does, and I'm still worried about him. So I have him as a sleeper guy to be worried about, because really right now he's kind of dormant to most people. He's not the Demaryius Thomas of 2012 or 2013, something like that. But I still worry about him because he's been really good against the Steelers when he's been a member of the Broncos. So those are the guys that I'm worrying about. Who are you worrying about in this game?
When was the last time Thomas even played against the Steelers, though? That had to be 2015. That's almost 5 years ago.
It is a while, but I don't know, man. I think he could go through a rebirth.
I don't know, man. Not on that hamstring injury. You sure?
That's why he's a sleeper. It's why he wasn't my main guy.
I guess. I guess that's fair. I don't know. I think he's washed. No offense to him personally, but I could be wrong, of course. I think the key are the running backs, and James White was pretty quiet last year against Pittsburgh. Those running backs, they're all talented, and don't forget they drafted Damian Harris from Alabama too, and there's still Rex Burkhead there. I'm sure one of them will be inactive, but it's a talented running back group, and the offense runs through them. They're all talented in their own ways, and the Patriots were able to. They averaged, I think, over 5 yards a carry last year against Pittsburgh. It ultimately didn't end up leading to a victory, so I don't know how you want to take care of that, but obviously there's no Rob Gronkowski to take care of. At receiver, you have Josh Gordon, who's getting back into the offense. He's a deep threat you got to worry about. And of course, there's always Julian Edelman, but isn't he dealing with a thumb injury? I know he wasn't on the injury report.
I don't think so, but with Gordon, I'm not exactly sure he's going to be active. I'm not 100% sold yet.
Oh, so if that's the case, then I'd be more worried about Demaryius Thomas. See, my thinking the whole time is that Gordon's going to play, and therefore Thomas won't see the field much.
Belichick just doesn't really lie, and we haven't heard anything since basically the reinstatement, but Belichick said he'd evaluate him and he wasn't going to play in week 1 if he really wasn't ready, and I just haven't seen anything from that, and Belichick's not one to speak about it, so I feel like we're going to go through the day and we might not know if Josh Gordon's going to play or not. At the moment it looks like he's trending towards yes, but you never know with Belichick. He could possibly be an inactive.
Let me shift to this. How much do you want to see Devin Bush play, and how much do you think he should play? And remember that communication is huge against the Patriots.
I think it's going to depend on how well Mark Barron does. Personally, I would love to see Devin Bush play and just succeed the entire way, but that's just not feasible against a guy like Tom Brady. You need veterans out there. You need guys that are going to be communicating. Just to say it, the communications in this game is way more important than speed, because you're not going to be able to like trick Tom Brady for the most part or anything like that. You need to be able to communicate, not give up stupid coverages, have a break in coverage. You got to be able to communicate, and if a young guy's not ready for that, it's got to be the Mark Barron show for at least just this week, and let Devin Bush not get baptized by fire like poor Kevin Kelly's about to. But regardless, it's so really if like Mark Barron just doesn't look good, that's probably gonna dictate Devin Bush playing more, which I think Devin Bush is gonna get a solid amount of snaps. If I'd have to guess the percentage of how much Barron plays to how much Bush plays, I think it's going to be like 60-40 at the moment, with Barron playing the 60% and Devin Bush playing the 40%, if not just for this week, just to give Devin Bush a little bit more time to prepare going into this game. But like if Mark Barron's like failing in the first half, like the whole second half could be like Devin Bush and just Devin Bush by himself. But I feel good about Mark Barron going into this one. He hasn't really shown anything that or in practice or in preseason that he's not going to be ready for it. But so I think Devin Bush.
So what about Vince Williams then? What are you thinking about with Vince then?
I think he's going to be playing basically the whole game, only a few snaps off. I think Mark Barron and Devin Bush are going to be rotating next to him. I don't think he's going to do much rotating.
Okay, that's just kind of what I was curious about. See, I'm wondering how often the Steelers are going to have two inside linebackers on the field. You know, you typically think, and the Patriots might spread them out too, which is why you'd want an athletic guy out there. But the other thing I worry about with Bush is if he's got too much going on right now. The Patriots use their fullback, James Devlin, more than anybody besides Kyle Juszczyk of the 49ers, who's like also a tight end too. And that guy coming downhill that's the guy, you know, him playing that way. James Devlin's a throwback fullback. That's the kind of guy that comes barreling down the hole. That's what makes Devin Bush look like a safety like his father and not a linebacker. And normally, you know, it's his job. He's got to go do it. But I think in week one, it might just be a bad matchup. So, plus the Steelers won last year and gave up 10 points to the Patriots with Vince Williams as their main inside linebacker. I'm sure he's going to play a lot again. I feel like we will see Bush, obviously. You don't draft him 10 overall to not play him, but I just feel like it's going to be the kind of game where you see Bush maybe only play 30 snaps.
I think that would be fair, too, because you don't want to baptize him by fire, like I said. I just think that Vince Williams got to be in there. He's probably one of the better communicators on the team. And Mark Barron's just got that veteran leadership, so he's probably going to be the first guy in when they're using mostly two inside linebacker sets and stuff. So, I mean, I do think Devin Bush is going to play, like you said, but I think it's the smart thing to do to just kind of limit the snaps or just go with how the game is going and go from there. Like, if you think that he'd be better with more snaps, then you do it. But for now, the game plan should be to limit the snaps a little bit, just to like 30 or so.
Yeah, I'd say next week might be a better time to give him those extra snaps. But in Foxborough, I feel like you're asking for trouble if you do that. If you less is more right now this week.
I agree.
That's what we're getting at.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, we know the Patriots love their crossing routes. They love their quick. Tom Brady loves to get the ball out quickly. So, I mean, I'm sure we're going to see the Steelers run similar coverages as to what the Patriots are going to be running. Bracketing. I'm sure we're going to see some. We're going to see a good mix of man and zone. More man, but some zone. We're going to see pattern matching. As far as rushing the passer goes, the Steelers blitzed a little bit, but I think it was mostly just the stunting and, four-man pass rushing. And I think that the Steelers this year above any should really just only focus on the four-man pass rush. They've got the three great defensive linemen, at least three solid defensive linemen. I think they could be they were really good last year in rushing the passer, and you've got either Watt or Dupree coming off the edge. I really like where the front is at, and I'd be worried about rushing, blitzing. I feel like you blitz Brady in this game more than just a handful of times. You're poking you're egging on the bull. I think that's a mistake. I think this is one of those games where you need to, I guess it's cliche because we say it every time, but I think trying to get to Brady with four guys is paramount in this game, and I feel better about this game than I have with any other game against the Patriots in recent memory.
Oh yeah, their O-line is undoubtedly worse than it was last year, and there's no argument there. I mean, it's still a very good offensive lineman, but they lost their starting center Andrews, like to the blood clots and stuff, and then also they lost their left tackle in the offseason. I'm forgetting his name. Do you remember his name?
Oh, not offhand. I'll check it out though.
Someone overpaid for him. I can't even remember the team he went to. I want to say it's Oakland, but
yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah,
that sounds right.
So I liked Isaiah Wynn. He was their draft pick last year. I believe he tore his ACL, so he didn't play at all last year. But like, it's just their offensive line is worse just without David Andrews being their starting center, and they didn't even feel good about their depth. The Patriots were crazy at the like 53-man roster cut down time, trading for like 3 offensive linemen, one from the Cardinals, Jermaine Luminor from the Ravens, and then I believe Bodine from the Bills, if I remember correctly. So they really did not feel good about their offensive line, and I agree. So like they didn't even get anyone that's going to be like a difference maker. They just have depth now, so that they're not going to get killed if they have to rotate a few offensive linemen in and out, or if there's an injury. But like you said, that just makes me feel comfortable with a 4-man pass rush. Like the Steelers have led the league in sacks. The Steelers do lead the league in sacks over the past 2 years. They tied with Kansas City last year, so they tied for the lead, but they were in first the other year. So regardless, I just feel comfortable with how it's going to be. The Patriots offensive line isn't where it was, and I just think that they're going to be...
Trent Brown?
It was Trent Brown. I was thinking Trent Williams. I'm like, that's Redskins. Like, I had Trent in my head, but it was Trent Brown. Is he a Raider?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I thought it was. I thought he went to the Raiders. Someone overpaid for him. So regardless, I just think that the offensive line isn't as good anymore, and the Steelers should be able to hit home by doing that. And blitzing is, like you said, poking the bull. You're asking to get the horns there. So I just think it's best to just go with the 4-man pass rush. Maybe do a little bit of stunting, the normal Keith Butler stuff, and just don't get pretty with it. Don't try to be cute. Like it's just keep it simple there, because it seems like a spot that the Steelers actually do seem to have an advantage here going into this game.
And you know what it's really going to come down to? It's going to come down to, can the Steelers force at least 1, probably 2 turnovers? And the Steelers, there's a very small handful, probably 5 or less passes a game that are plays where you can intercept the ball, right? And usually they're never poor decisions or throws. Usually what they are from Brady is he's getting hit while he throws. It's a ball deflected at the line of scrimmage. It's deflected in the air. The receiver drops it, sort of stuff, or the receiver fumbles, or it's just a regular fumble. Usually it's not just a poor decision and a poor throw kind of thing. So will the Steelers be able to come up with these picks this year, whereas they didn't? I mean, they've intercepted Brady in 2 straight games, but I'm obviously remember them dropping a couple interceptions 2 years ago where Sean Davis dropped the ball. It was right in his hands. That's really what it's going to come down to. It always does. You know what's funny?
That's actually a good strong suit for Cameron Kelly at that free safety position, since Kelly started the AAF train as a wide receiver and just switched to cornerback. He's got really good hands. He was considered wide receiver for that long. Like, I feel good about that there. I mean, I'm not thinking he's going to get the pick, but after a big gap in between times when Tom Brady threw an interception, I got to reword that. That was terrible wording. So Brady hadn't thrown an interception against the Steelers for a very long time, and now we're in back-to-back games where Vince Williams got a pick, and then Joe Hayden got that iconic pick that we even saw on his Twitter when he got the extension. He put it in his visor just to be cheeky. But so I am in recent years feeling a little bit more confident the Steelers could get 1, but I'm still not confident about it. I'm still not feeling great. I'm just more confident than in the past. And what I'm really looking for is I'm looking for group tackling and trying to rip the ball out from receivers and stuff. I'm looking for the forced fumbles, trying to make one of those running backs like Damian Harris or Sony Michel, one of the young ones, try and make them fumble, hit them hard, because
we've seen them do that a lot lot. That's been a huge point of emphasis this preseason. Didn't they force like 6 fumbles in the preseason?
Yeah, the Steelers really force a lot of fumbles, so that's actually what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for Tom Brady to make the mistakes, but I think he could throw an interception in this one. I feel a little bit more confident, like I said. But the Steelers have been focusing on group tackling, and as soon as that group tackling is happening, you see them ripping at the ball because they know that they got the help there. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to make the guys like Josh Gordon, Demaryius Thomas if he plays, Julian Edelman, Damian Harris, all these guys. I'm trying to look for them to make the mistakes because they aren't like Tom Brady. They aren't as perfect. I feel like that's where I'm looking for in this game.
So I guess you kind of alluded to it. If we're talking keys to the game, I mean, you've kind of alluded to it on both offense and defense. It's kind of the turnover battle, right?
Yeah, you just can't turn over the football. And like I'm making this the offensive key, but it's just you can't lose the turnover battle here. I just thought that if Ben throws 2 interceptions, the game should probably be lost. It's probably not going to be good enough. I feel like the most turnovers they could have is that 2, and it's just, and I'm not going to feel good about it. Like, they can't win if they get any more than 2. But like, even then, like, they should only have 1 in this game if we really want to be confident here. So I'm going to say that don't turn over the football on offense. And then for defense, it's you gotta force one. It's basically the same for both sides. I made it the biggest emphasis here. You can't lose the turnover battle here against Tom Brady and the Patriots. He's going to take advantage of turnovers. So the Steelers need to win it here. So what are your keys to the game?
Well, I'll switch it up for you on offense. I'm going to say, someone else needs to step up. The key is for guys other than Smith-Schuster need to step up. You need at least, I'm going to say score touchdowns in the red zone. So I guess that'll be my key. I'll go with that. I need the Steelers, if they're going to get in the red zone 2 or 3 times, I need 2 or 3 touchdowns. I need this game above all to be the game where you convert in the red zone, you don't turn it over, and you don't settle for field goals. You know that settling for field goals against New England will result in a loss. This game in New England above all, you need to be able to get down there. You need to be able to score touchdowns. That's what it's all about. It gets tough there, but that's what it has to be. And then on defense, I'm going to go with winning on first down. We know the Patriots, like you said, it's the dink and dunk offense, ground and pound now. They're not a huge big play offense anymore. So what you need to do, a 4-yard run on first down is exactly what the Patriots want. A 5-yard crossing route for Julian Edelman. That's all they need on first down. If second and 7 or more is almost an automatic passing down with the way things are right now. You don't run often on second and long. So if you're the Patriot, or if you're the Steelers and you're facing a 2nd and 8 or a 2nd and 7 or longer, you're looking back and you're saying they're probably going to throw the ball on these next 2 plays. At least certainly this play, it's far more likely they throw it than run it. And yeah, you could guess wrong, but you want your guys to have the most opportunities to rush the passer when they can pin their ears back. And that's going to be the real key. If you can win on first down, if the Patriots are dealing with a lot of 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4 or less, you're in trouble because they're going to be able. It's so easy for them. They have been the masters at this for so long, just getting a quick few yards. Like it's almost like they had obviously they've had a bunch of different guys, but it's like they have 5 different Ryan Switzers on the field, or 5 different guys that can carry the ball for a couple of yards. It's so hard to stop them on 2nd or 3rd down and short. That's why winning first down, you have to be able to do it. So that's my defensive key. So let's just quickly slide into special teams. I didn't think there was much to talk about. The Patriots have a new punter that they drafted. He apparently has got a big leg on him. And, Patriots have always been a pretty solid special teams unit. And even though I think they're solid, I think it really comes down to, for Pittsburgh, Chris Boswell. That's the guy everyone's going to have their eyes on.
Yeah, we got to be looking for that bounce-back game for him. We're trying to hope that the preseason is telling of the regular season for him this year, because he's playing for his life now. Like, if he starts missing field goals early on in the year, he's just going to get cut. It's not like last year where it's all that guaranteed money and you have to roll with it because you're not going to cut him Now it's just he's playing for his job now. Now we're into the real meat and potatoes of his contract and stuff. And you basically got to hope that, because basically the Steelers are going to lose the special teams battle in every facet, because the Patriots have always been so good at it. Just everything with their gunners and their punt teams and punting and their just everything. They've always dominated the special teams battle against the Steelers, because the Steelers have been very undisciplined on special teams and not that great at punting with the net average and average. And I mean, the Steelers have a really good punt rush team, and Bill Belichick was even talking about it, saying that he's got to be able to work around that punt rush team, but it's just the Patriots just kind of outmatch them. They're more disciplined on special teams, so we're really looking for Chris Boswell to have a bounce back game, like where he was the Pro Bowler and considered the best kicker because of that. We got to hope for that again.
Ironically enough, last year the Steelers special teams kind of outperformed the Patriots, with the exception of Boswell missing a field goal. It was a lot of those penalties you were talking about that was actually on New England last year. It was one of those weird games where the bad unit played well and the good unit didn't play very well. So I wouldn't bank on that. But remember, Boswell was fine last year in the preseason. It wasn't until that shanked kick in overtime against the Browns where things just started going downhill.
Yeah, so he could go down in it's going to be week 1. He's got to set the message here. He's got to set the record just by going in. And I know everyone's going to be holding their breath when he goes for his first regular season kick. That's for sure.
If he struggles out of the gate, how many games do you think he gets? I think he gets 3 or 4. And if he's missing, say he's missed 4 kicks through 4 weeks, I think that's where you start to look at him maybe getting the X.
I think I give it 3, because it's just if he's struggling from the first 3 weeks we already saw last season, I think that's all we need to see, and I think it's just time to either look for a kicker on the market, try and find the next Chris Boswell, or I don't know, maybe possibly trade for one if there shouldn't be anyone to trade for. It should just be looking for one on the market.
All right, X Factors. We're going to do the draft like we did in the preseason for week 1. We're going to pick one guy each, and we're each going one offense and one defensive X Factor. Austin, week 1, you go ahead and take it. Who do you want to take first?
Sure.
Offense or defense?
We'll snake it. So I'll pick mine, then you can pick both yours, and then I'll take the last one. Oh,
okay.
Yeah, I think that's the most fair here. So I'm gonna go with my offensive X Factor first. I'm gonna pick Vance McDonald. Like I said, I think he's one of the most important here. To be able to just because he's a really good blocker for run blocking as a tight end, and then I think he has the best mismatch for the Patriots defense, because I feel like the Patriots defense is pretty solid. I mean, the only young guy there is J.C. Jackson, and he just kind of broke out. He was really good, so I feel like Vance McDonald is one of the guys that has just a clear mismatch, and I feel like they're not going to respect him at least early on. Because I think they're going to be focused on Juju and stuff. I think they're going to be focused on the Juju, James Conner, those guys. So I'm looking for.
I got one thing. One thing I want to just interject with McDonald. Don't just if you're the Steelers, I don't want to just see him as an in-line guy. I also want to see him moved around. I want to see him moved around in the red zone. I want him in bunch formations. You know what I'd really like to see? That it almost worked for a touchdown against the Patriots. He didn't get his feet in. I don't know if you remember the play. It was like a fade route. They put him in a one-on-one situation against, I think, a linebacker. And that's like you were saying, that's a huge mismatch. So if you can do that, I'd really love to see McDonald out wide on his own sometimes. Make him use him, because he's more versatile than any other tight end you've ever had, right?
Exactly, yeah. He provides so much. I mean, he's got the fumbling problem for sure, but he just provides the speed. He can catch. He's just after the catch is a problem, and it's just he runs pretty solid routes, and he does really solid run blocking. He's a really good tight end. But yeah. Oh, so I that was it for my X Factor. So now you do both of yours, since we'll do it snake style.
Okay, I'm going to start with defense, because this was my biggest X Factor throughout the entire week leading up, based on how things are looking, and that's going to be Cameron Kelly. And I'm sorry, Austin, I'm sure that was going to be your defensive guy, but was I right? Is that who you were going to pick?
It was, because I was really thinking, like, I didn't really know who I wanted, so I was like, well, that's the guy that's going to be interesting to watch in his first NFL game. So it was going to be that guy.
I think he's the quite clear defensive choice because, I mean, he's the only non-starter that's likely going to have to start in this game. It's his first NFL snaps in the regular season. He didn't play last year. He got cut by the Cowboys outright. So this is his first start, first snaps, and it's in New England. As you said, baptism by fire. He was a big play guy in the AAF, and he's made some big plays in the preseason. The coaching staff trusts him. He's a big guy. He's not a super fast guy, but he's athletic. He's versatile. He can play in the slot. He can play cornerback. He can play both safety spots. This is a guy that could, at his best, maybe be a solid piece. And the way he plays in this game could have a huge difference in whether or not the Steelers are having a good game on defense. Because the big part last year, as we know, was being able to disguise coverages. And if Brady can identify what you're doing, you're in trouble. And obviously you've got a new guy starting in the defense back there this week with Cameron Kelly. He needs to be able to disguise what he's doing. And if he can do it, that obviously bodes well. But will he be able to do it? We'll see. His performance is going to play a huge part on how well the Steelers play in this one. So that's for my defensive guy. And on offense, I'm going to juxtapose your Vance McDonald with the James Washington. Washington had 3 grabs for, I think, 65 yards last year against the Patriots. He's been by far the Steelers' best offensive player in the preseason. He caught a 40-yard pass in, I think, every game he played. Maybe not the last one, but he caught a 40-yard pass in at least the first 3 games. He looked fantastic, and he looked even better than he did last preseason. This preseason, he's playing on both sides. He's played the Z. He's played in the slot. He's played a little bit of the X, too. He's just been, again, more of that versatility the Steelers love to see. And it's going to take a big performance from guys like him and Dante Moncrief and Vance McDonald and the running back. Again, a collective team effort, but Washington is the guy. He's the real deep threat right now. If he can make one or two of those big 20 or 40-yard grabs, that's going to go a long way for this offense that we think is going to be challenged in this game to put up points. So I'm going with Cameron Kelly on defense and James Washington on offense. Who's your last guy?
So for defense, I'm going to stay with the defensive backs. I'm going to go Mike Hilton. Mike Hilton didn't have quite the year he did as he did 2 years ago, and part of it was because of injury. He was a playmaker in his first year making the roster, and it wasn't that he wasn't a playmaker last year, but he just wasn't what he was the first year. So I'm hoping for a return from him here because he's another guy that could possibly be getting turnovers here, or maybe even a sack again. We'll have to see. So I'm gonna make him my X factor because he has the ability to because he's also gonna be rotating in at safety as well. At least we assume so. I think he's going to be one of the ones making a difference here, and I'm hoping for him, now that he's healthy, he doesn't have that elbow injury that he was playing through, that he'll be able to force a turnover, or maybe even possibly 2, maybe get a sack, just make a big play here, make a splash play. So my offensive one was Vance McDonald, and my defensive one is Mike Hilton.
All right, just one quick bit of NFL news to get to. The Chiefs signed Tyreek Hill to a 3-year, $64 million deal. Any thoughts? I got nothing.
Yeah, no. Average annual value of $18 million. So he smartly didn't request to beat Michael Thomas or the next up Julio Jones. So, yeah, that's really it.
Well, we don't know that he didn't ask that. The Chiefs may have just said no.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, so let's get back to our Pigskin Pick'em. Do you want to do the Eliminator? I know we were talking about the Eliminator Challenge, but we can also do that because we're doing this year our Pick'em on Pigskin Pick'em, which is on ESPN. We could do an Eliminator Challenge this year, too, if you want, which I already have it up, so it's not a big deal for me. But if you're interested, we should do that.
I'm sorry, the Eliminator?
Yeah. So, you already know, you call it something else where you pick one team to win every week.
Yeah, so we're just doing it on the podcast is what you're saying.
Yeah, we do that as well.
Okay. All right, yeah, no, we could do that.
Okay, all right. All right, good. So we'll do that at the very end. I'll just type that in for myself right now. So the Packers and Bears, we both picked the Bears to cover a 3.5-point spread, and obviously they lost 10-3, so we were wrong on that one. So let's jump right into the 1 o'clock games. The Falcons are in Minnesota. Minnesota's getting 4.5 at home. Where are you leaning on this one?
Falcons winning outright. I just don't feel confident in the Vikings. I do not like Kirk Cousins. I am pleasantly surprised with how Dalvin Cook has been playing in the preseason, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate. And he does have sort of like a injury thing going right now, so I'm going to pick the Falcons to win outright just because I don't like the Vikings all too much.
Yeah, the conditions kind of signal a Vikings win. I mean, the Vikings at home, it's a day game for Kirk Cousins. They're playing the Falcons, who aren't as good at home as they are on the road. But all that being said, I'm kind of feeling this is going to be a Matt Ryan kind of year. I'm going to take the Falcons to win this one, so I'll take them the plus 4.5. I forget exactly how that works, but I'm going to take the Falcons in this one. So they'll either – I think they win a very, very slightly a very tightly contested game. I think it's going to be a late field goal that decides this one. Bills at Jets. For two teams that are on the outside of the Patriots' kind of reign over the AFC East, I feel like these are two teams that could end up very similar or very different. I feel like the Jets, though, have a very high floor and a low ceiling, while I feel like the Bills have a low floor and a high ceiling.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I think that the Bills could surprise people with their wide receiver room. I feel like they've done a good job rebuilding the offensive line and rebranding to fit around Josh Allen as their guy. Same with the Jets, though. The Jets have kind of done the same, building around Sam Darnold. They don't have that great of an offensive line, but they were able to pull Khalil out of retirement, so I suppose that's something. Not as sold on their wide receivers, and their defensive backs are kind of actual trash, but while the Bills have a really good defense. But yeah, for this one, the Jets are favored by 3.5, but I'm going to pick the Bills plus 3.5. I'm not sure they win, but I'm pretty sure that they could keep it within 3.5 points. So I'm gonna pick the Bills plus 3.5. How about you?
Oh, I really wanted. I think the Jets are gonna win, but I was really hoping the line would be 3. Let me put it that way. I'll switch it up for me. I'll take the Jets to cover the 3.5 point spread. So I'm gonna write that in there. Jets will win this one by a touchdown in this AFC East matchup. Titans at Browns. For a team with a lot of hype like the Browns, I've seen a lot of people picking the Titans to win this game straight up, even though they're 5.5-point underdogs on the road.
Well,
do we really think the Titans have a chance here?
I do think the Titans have a chance, but I just think that it's going to take a lot. The offensive line is going to have to play well, and that's a lot to ask for an offensive line that's decimated and just fell apart just so quickly. They don't have Taylor Lewan for this game. He's suspended. And with that being said, I have Cleveland covering. I thought that was a lot of points, and I really had to think about it and I'm pretty sure if it was at 5, I would have picked Titans plus 5, but it was just, I'm sorry, if Cleveland was at 6, I did it reverse. If Cleveland was at 6, I would have picked the Titans plus the 6 points, but for me, that offensive line versus the Cleveland's defensive line is just too much for me, man. I just think that Cleveland is going to cover here, and the Titans don't have enough talent to really counter that. The Titans are just kind of like average to me, and they look like an 8-8 team. So I have Cleveland covering. What do you got?
It's funny because the Titans were a 9-win team last year, and they were pretty solid with an unhealthy Marcus Mariota and at times Derrick Henry, who was being underutilized. Henry and Mariota are healthy right now, but again, like you kind of said, it's their health during the game because the offensive line is in bad shape. I want to think the Titans are going to make this close, but I feel like the Browns are the far more talented team, and I'm going to take the Browns to cover, and I think they're going to win this one by almost 2 touchdowns. I think they're going to win this one pretty handily. Kansas City Chiefs in Jacksonville. The Jaguars, coming off a disappointing season, are 3.5-point underdogs at home to the number 1 seed in the AFC East last year in the Kansas City Chiefs. So what's Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs? What are they going to do?
Well, Patrick Mahomes is cursed for this season. He was the Madden cover athlete, so I'm just expecting something to go wrong. I don't know if it's going to be a bad season or he's just going to like tear his ACL or something. I hope not, because that would just not be great. But I don't think it starts in this game. I think that the Chiefs are going to win here, and I think they're going to win against the Jaguars more than 3.5. So I'm going to pick the Chiefs to cover the spread here.
I'll second that as well. I think the Jaguars' defense is going to be solid, but the Chiefs are a powerhouse right now, and I think their new-look defense, while still not very good, is going to be a little overwhelming for the Jaguars' offense run by Nick Foles that is going to take a little bit of time to find its footing. So give me the Chiefs to lay the 3.5 points. The Los Angeles Rams in Carolina. This could be a sneaky trap game. The Panthers are only 2.5-point underdogs despite all the turmoil they've gone through. Is there a chance Carolina can pull out the upset at home? You don't usually see a road team favored when the Panthers were. I know they didn't finish the year strong, but they were solid for points of last season.
I'm taking the Rams to cover and by 7. I hate Carolina. I think their team is sneaky trash. Like I just don't. I don't really like Cam Newton. I don't really like what they got going on with their wide receiver room at the moment. Nothing really stands out to me, like Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore. Their offensive line is suspect and got Cam Newton hurt in the preseason. Their defensive backs are bad. Their defensive line isn't great. They got Mario Addison, who had one breakout year but could easily return to just being just a guy. I just hate this team. I think I just have Rams covering.
Part of me wanted to take the Panthers just because it is 2.5 points at home, but I can't trust Cam Newton. They say he's healthy, but I don't trust that at all. They were saying he was healthy last year, and Lord knows he wasn't. Obviously, we know now he wasn't, but he looked like he was hurting, and I feel like it has the recipe of what could be an ugly, ugly game. So even though I'm not super confident in it, I think of the Rams, I'm going to lay the 2.5. Baltimore at Miami. Baltimore only 4.5-point favorites on the road. Austin, do you hear that? They're starting up the tanks in Miami.
Oh yeah, man, they're loud and rumbling. That team is in shambles, super shambles. But regardless, I am, believe it or not, actually scared of this game because I'm still. I know that the Ravens aren't that bad. But what really worries me is they're so one-dimensional that if the Dolphins could just force them to throw, that's a strong suit because they got Minkah Fitzpatrick and Xavier Howard, and that's like their only two good pieces on defense, and I just don't trust the Ravens throwing. So I'm kind of scared of this a little bit because I feel like an upset coming, like a really, really, like, it's just going to feel like bad for if you're a Ravens fan, but I'm not going to pick it. I think the Ravens cover here because it's what it should be. Even though I don't like the Ravens and their offense, their defense should 100% overwhelm Miami's offense. Because Miami's offense got nothing salvageable on it. But I have a little bit of a bad feeling for the Ravens here, but I have them covering.
It's funny that you mentioned that because if I were betting, I actually would stay away from this game. A lot of me think that the Ravens are going to win this one big, but I don't know. That first game in Miami is always tough. It's probably going to be really hot and muggy, and it's going to be difficult to play. And I don't know, something about Ryan Fitzpatrick is just, even if the Dolphins are starting him with the intention of tanking, Fitzpatrick always pulls a couple wins out of his ass, you know? Yeah,
man, and it's kind of funny. You go back and look at Ryan Fitzpatrick's stats, and it's always like he bounces between. He has one good year, then he goes to another team, has a bad year, then has a good year after that, bad year, good year, bad year. He switches it off. He kind of had a good year last year, so that's what kind of worries me. He was really good, at least in the beginning, for the Bucks, but yeah, I don't know.
I'll take the Ravens to cover, but again, I'm not super confident about it either. One game I am really confident about, personally, is the Redskins at the Eagles, and the Eagles are getting 9.5 at home, but I think the Redskins are a team in complete disarray right now. No Trent Williams at the weak offensive line. I don't even know who plays defense for them. Case Keenum is their starting quarterback who, God bless him. This is his third team in as many years, and this is the worst iteration of any of the teams he's played on in that time. Carson Wentz, I think, and the Eagles run roughshod over the Redskins. I think they win this game by 17-plus points.
I'm going to play the devil's advocate here, but it's not really devil's advocate if you're actually doing it, but I'm going to pick the Redskins plus 9.5, and my reasoning is, so I have an Eagles fan friend, and one thing that stuck with me, I don't really know why, is that the Redskins beat the Eagles once a year no matter how bad their team is. I don't know if it's going to be week 1. It might be when the Redskins are home at FedEx Field. But, no matter how good the Eagles are, no matter how bad the Redskins are, they always beat them once a year. So I'm going to pick the Redskins plus 9.5 with that in mind, just in case that. I don't really, like you said, I agree with you. The Redskins are a very bad team on paper, and the Eagles are a very good team on paper. So it should be a blowout, but it's just the division games always mess me up. So I'm going to pick the Redskins plus 9.5 here.
Division games are another animal. One game that is not, we're getting into our 4 o'clock, is an interconference game between the Bengals and Seahawks. Seattle's minus 9.5 at CenturyLink. I think this could be a 40-0 game. The Bengals' offensive line against that really stout Seahawks front seven with maybe Jadeveon Clowney as well. This could be an ugly game before it's even halftime.
Yeah, their best offensive lineman, Cordy Glenn, is out, so they don't even have a good offensive lineman playing. It's just, this is going to be rough. This is going to be really rough for the Bengals, and the Seahawks are going to cover. I don't know how badly they're going to win, but they're going to win. And, no, I'll save that for later. What do you got for this game?
I have the Seahawks covering by a substantial margin. Like I said, I think this could be a huge blowout, something to the tune of 30 or 40 to nothing. I really think it's going to be that bad. The Bengals don't play in Seattle that often. New coach, new system. Good luck, man. It's, try again next week.
Yeah, man.
A couple of unsung teams going through a lot right now. The Colts, obviously, still struggling with the Andrew Luck stuff, trying to get past that. And then the Chargers dealing with the loss of Derwin James to an injury, and maybe just the fact that they overachieved a bit last year. LA's getting 2.5 at home, despite the fact that they struggled a lot at home last year. Where are you at with this one? I'm actually going to take the Colts to win this one. I think that they're a team playing like a band of brothers, a team that feels like no one else believes in us right now. Everyone thought that Luck was the team, but we're going to show them that we are more than just that right now. And I think the Chargers are not free-falling, but I'm not as high on them as I was before the Derwin James injury.
I can't remember, excuse me, I can't remember if I said it on the podcast, but I am unironically a huge Jacoby Brissett fan. I had him on my fantasy team when Andrew Luck was out for the year, I think 2 years ago now, or 3, I forget now. Everything's a blur. But regardless, I watched a lot of Colts games because of that, because my quarterbacks were pretty trash, that I was actually thinking of starting Brissett every week. And I would see it, and I kept saying to myself, man, if the Colts just got an offensive line, that this guy could be pretty solid. He actually does good, but he's just forced to throw so quickly, and he doesn't have any time. And it kind of, the fact of how that worked out, where I thought they needed an offensive line, and just the events that happened here, it was just a little too late. But now there's an offensive line there. There's a very good one, to say the least. They had an All-Pro last year on that line, and as a whole, they're pretty solid. With that in mind, I have the Colts plus 2.5. I think they're going to win this game. I like Brissett. I don't think the Colts are as screwed as everyone says, and I'm going to die on this hill. I don't. Brissett's going to probably throw like 3 interceptions week 1 because I'm saying this. I'm going to die on this hill. I'm going to blame it on someone else. So, Brissett's the best. Colts plus 2.5.
Giants at Cowboys. Dallas getting 7.5 right now. Looks like Ezekiel Elliott's back with that new contract and is going to play. I actually think this is kind of a trap game. I don't know that the Giants are going to win this one, but I feel like Eli Manning playing for what likely could be his final season in New York, on top of the fact that Ezekiel Elliott might not be in the best shape, if you will. You remember Lev Bell started off pretty slow at the start of the 2017 season after sitting out all the preseason. I think the Cowboys are going to be a little slow on offense, and I think the Giants are going to come out with a little bit of an early attack, but I do think the Cowboys win, but I think the Giants are going to keep this one close, so I'll take the Giants plus 7.5 there.
Yeah, this is a tough one because the Giants usually keep it pretty close with the Cowboys. And I remember they opened up Sunday Night Football, I think like 3 years ago now, and that game was supposed to be a blowout by Dallas as well, but the Giants kept it close. That being said, though, I begrudgingly pick the Cowboys to cover. I do think they're just a little bit, their talent is just a little bit too much better than what the Giants have. But if like Eli Manning goes down in like the second play, and Daniel Jones has to come out, I think I would change it. I think I would have the Giants plus the 7.5, but that's not what's gonna happen. So.
All right, Detroit Lions at Arizona Cardinals, first overall pick. Kyler Murray with head coach Cliff Kingsbury will be opening up as 2.5-point home underdogs to the Lions. This is the first look at the true air raid system we're going to see with Kingsbury in the NFL. Look, I'm going to be honest. The air raid has never worked. The Oilers ran it in the early 90s, and they blew the biggest lead in NFL history with it, and that was with a Hall of Fame quarterback. So even though I think Kyler Murray is going to be fine, that offensive line isn't very good. Detroit has remade their defense, and I think the Lions are going to win a relatively low-scoring contest by 7 to 10 points. So I'll take the Lions to cover the 2.5-point spread.
I'm going to take Arizona plus the 2.5 points. I have bad feelings about Detroit. I don't know. I just felt like this offseason for them wasn't a good one. Like, they got guys like Trey Flowers, which is going to be good in this matchup against Arizona's offensive line. They got a lot of ex-Patriots and stuff. They got Jesse James, but I don't know. This team felt like you just kind of like waxed up like a really old beater car. You just gave it a good waxing. Despite everything I said about Arizona being a trash organization and everything, I was a fan of Kyler Murray. I think that they did get some pretty solid pieces. The biggest hump for me to get over, because I would have said this more confidently, is if they had Patrick Peterson. Patrick Peterson is obviously suspended for the first 6 games of the season and will not be playing here. I am going to pick Arizona plus 2.5, and I think they win, but I'm not as confident as if they had Patrick Peterson, because I really like Kenny Golladay on the Lions.
49ers at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay getting a 1.5. I would not touch this game at all. I don't trust either of these quarterbacks, and I don't think these are good teams either. I'll take the Niners plus 1.5 because I have to make a pick here. But I guess the only saving grace is I think I kind of like the 49ers front against the Buccaneers' horrendous offensive line, and George Kittle fan club for the win, man. I'll take the Niners plus 1.5.
I'm going to take the Bucs to cover under the belief that that Bruce Arians really has changed Jameis Winston. I'm not a believer of that, but so many people have subscribed to that I'm going to hope that they're right and I'm wrong, and I'm going to pick the Bucs to cover.
All right, Monday Night Football, as is always the case in Week 1, we've got a doubleheader. Houston in New Orleans, the Saints getting 6.5. I'm not a huge believer in the Saints in terms of I don't think they'll be as dominant as they were last year. And plus the Texans have this whole idea of apparently they're going for broke this year. And for whatever reason, they're just all in. And all that being said, where I like Deshaun Watson, I don't think the Saints are going to be as good as they were last year. I think the Texans are a better football team now than they were 2 weeks ago. I'm still going to take the Saints to cover the 6.5-point spread. I know you probably thought I was going the other way, but I don't know. Adding an offensive lineman and expecting them to start Laramie Tunsil, he's not going to be that good right away. Offensive line is all about chemistry and playing together, and he hasn't played there yet. The Saints at home are just ridiculous, and even though I don't think they're going to be as great as they were last year, I think the Texans and Deshaun Watson are going to be in trouble in this one, and the Saints run away with not a blowout victory, but a comfortable victory by 2 touchdowns.
I'm also going to agree on the Saints covering. I just don't feel like it's a good matchup for the Texans. You kind of put it good where you said Laramie Tunsil isn't going to be ready. in my opinion, it doesn't even really matter. That's the only good part of their line, and that's not good when you have diverse Cameron Jordan and Sheldon Rankins and guys like that, and that pass rush. It's just not going to work out. And then where the Texans are strong on defense is their pass rush, or at least it was. I'm not sure if you can consider that anymore without Jadeveon Clowney. The Saints have a really good offensive line to counter that, and it's just, I don't know, man. I feel like they're just mismatched here. They're also going to be similar to the Ravens, where their offense is one-dimensional, at least in my opinion, just the opposite way. They're going to be forced to pass, which isn't bad when you have DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller and Kiki Kuti, but it's just, I don't think the Saints are going to have to respect the run at all in this game, especially when there's no offensive line and no good running back to make up for that offensive line being trash besides Laramie Tunsil. So I just think there's going to be no respect for the run game, and you could basically just bracket DeAndre Hopkins as best as you can. You never really can do it, but it's just, I feel like the Saints are mismatched. The Texans are mismatched here, so I'm going to pick the Saints to cover.
Late Monday night game, AFC West rivalry, Denver Broncos in Oakland for what might be the last time. Oakland -2.5. I guess the better question is, how many snaps will Antonio Brown play? We should get an over-under on that instead this week.
I have no idea. I think he's going to sit out. He's going to be held out the first quarter. They're not going to suspend him, but they're not going to have him. They're going to punish him that way by taking away a quarter or something. Something stupid like that.
That's the true way you got to go there, you know?
Yep.
I'm going to take the Broncos plus the 2.5. I actually think they're going to win this game. I think the Raiders are an upcoming dumpster fire, and I kind of like what the Broncos are doing. I'm not crazy about their quarterback situation with Joe Flacco, but I feel like he's going to play solid, and the Broncos are going to have a good defensive unit that kind of just smothers the Raiders in this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Broncos are winning. The Raiders are not good. They're not a good football team, so Broncos win.
All right, Eliminator Challenge. Who are you picking this week to win just over anybody? And obviously when you pick them, you won't be able to pick that team again. So I don't know if you want to take a moment to just kind of look it over.
Nope, Seattle. Nope, Seattle. Just, it's not a division game. It's a very, very big mismatch in everything. I will take Seattle 100 times over, and I might never want to pick Seattle ever again.
I don't want to pick the same team as you. That's the thing.
Oh, really? You want to do it different? Okay. All right.
No, we can pick the same team. I think I'm going to pick someone different this week. There's a lot of different teams I could go with. I'll go with the Ravens. Why not? I'll just go. That was what I did last year. I picked whoever was playing the Bills for the first 7 weeks. Something
Great.
like that.
Oh man.
So all right. So I'm going Bills. You're going with the Seahawks. All right then. All right, let's get right back into it. Steelers, Patriots, New England's -6.5. Give me your bold predictions and then your final score for this one.
So my bold predictions are that, first of all, Mike Hilton's going to get 2 sacks. Second of all, Cameron Kelly is going to record a forced fumble and an interception in this game. And then, because I want an offensive one, I think that Jalen Samuels is going to have 100 receiving yards in this game. So those are my bold predictions. And as for my final score predictions, I tossed and turned, put on Yinzer glasses, took off Yinzer glasses, and ended up putting them back on. And Steelers are winning this one. Steelers are taking the W, and they're going to win this game 20-17. It's going to be a pretty close game, but Steelers are going to come out on top with 2 touchdowns and 2 field goals. You?
All right. Well, for my bold predictions on offense, I'm going to go with James Washington. I think he grabs 7 passes for 95 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's my bold prediction on offense. And on defense, boy, I'm not going to go with Cam Kelly in this one because you just had him with the forced fumble and interception, which is actually almost verbatim what I was going to have. I was just going to have him with 2 other pass breakups too. But instead, I'll go with, I think Javon Hargrave has, I'll give him 2 sacks in this one. He had a sack a couple of years ago in the AFC Championship game. as a man playing for a big contract, I think he's going to come up with 2 sacks. So give me Javon Hargrave with 2 sacks and James Washington with 7 grabs, 95 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And in this one, look, it's going to be tough sledding for the Steelers offense. We know that. They're probably going to be able to put up 17 to 20 points, but again, the key is always going to be on defense. Can you force Tom Brady to turn the ball over at least once? Can you set up your offense with the opportunity to get some easy points? Even if you force 2 turnovers and get 6 points out of it, that's still huge. It's going to take something like that, and we just haven't seen that from the Steelers in Foxborough consistently enough in the Tom Brady era. I think they keep it close, so I'll take the Steelers plus the 6.5, but I think the Patriots ultimately do walk away victorious by final score. I'll give them a 24-20 victory, so the Steelers will start out 0-1. I really hope I'm wrong, but that's just kind of how I see it. So I'll take the Patriots to win 24-20 in this one. I think we're all set, man.
Yeah, I think we're all good here. So I guess we'll wrap this up here. So you guys have been listening to the Stronger Than Steel podcast. If you want to check out our Twitter, SoundCloud, anything else, YouTube and stuff, for the SoundCloud listeners, we'll put all the links in the description below. And I guess everybody, have a good night.
Take care, everybody.
You have been listening to Stronger Than Steel podcast. Thank you for joining us today, and don't forget to check out our website listed in the description below.